Welcome back, coin lovers and coin collectors. In this video, we're diving into the fascinating world of the United States Susan B. Anthony $1 coins. Today, we'll uncover the top 5 most valuable and most expensive rare pieces in this historic series, coins that blend artistry, history, and rarity into true numismatic treasures. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just starting out, get ready to explore the stories, designs, and hidden gems behind these captivating dollars. Let's get started. First up in the 1979 Susan B. Anthony dollar with the wide rim/near date variety is one of the most fascinating and highly sought-after pieces in modern United States numismatics. Despite its ubiquity in low grades, when certain varieties or mint errors are present, even in very dirty or heavily worn condition, this coin can captivate enthusiasts. It holds a special status. Part of the first year of the Susan B. Anthony series, it represents both a fresh artistic design and a cultural milestone. Collectors prize it as a tangible connection to the past, a piece of U.S. coinage that straddles everyday circulation and serious numismatic intrigue. Even a dirty specimen, poorly preserved, still tells a story, and under the right circumstances can attract surprisingly strong interest and value. The Susan B. Anthony dollar was first minted in 1979, authorized by legislation in 1978, with the aim of replacing the larger Eisenhower dollar and introducing a smaller, more cost-efficient dollar coin. It was the first U.S. coin to feature a real woman in portrait, Susan B. Anthony, a pioneer in the women's suffrage movement. The 1979 coins were struck at 3 mints: Philadelphia, P, Denver, D, and San Francisco, S. The Philadelphia Mint's 1979 pieces are particularly significant because they include a rare variety called the wide rim, or near date, distinguished by the proximity of the date to the rim. The coin's production was tied to the broader social and economic environment of the late 1970s, inflation, cost of metal, public sentiment about coins versus paper currency, and its design by Frank Gasparro reflects a blending of modernity with tradition. The 1979 Susan B. Anthony wide rim/near date variety is distinguished by several artistic, technical, and design elements. On the obverse, there is a right-facing bust of Susan B. Anthony surrounded by 13 stars and the word Liberty above, with In God We Trust and the date 1979 below. What makes the wide rim variety special is that the date is very close to the rim, thus near date. The rim is thicker, giving less space between the bottom of the date and the coin's edge. In contrast, the more common narrow rim far date has more spacing. On the reverse, there is the eagle landing on the moon motif. Recall the Apollo 11 mission insignia, clutching olive branches with United States of America, E pluribus unum, and $1 around. The coin is composed of a copper core, clad with 75% copper/25% nickel, has diameter ~26, 5 and weight ~8, 1 grams, reeded edge. Artistic touches by Gasparro make it visually appealing in high grade, crisp rims, sharp details in the bust, stars and lunar surface, as well as a strong strike. Mint mark P is simply P above Anthony's shoulder. Varieties also include differences in the rim width, wide versus narrow, and even errors or unusual striking or planchet flaws. Here we get into what makes some specimens truly rare. The wide rim/near date variety from 1979 is significantly scarcer than the more common narrow rim variant. While both were minted in large numbers, approximately 360,222,000 total 1979 coins for general circulation. For the wide rim variety, early dies/hubs were fewer and usage was more limited. Moreover, coins in excellent condition, uncirculated, MS65, MS67, etc., are quite rare, especially for the wide rim variety. Dirtiness, wear, corrosion, etc. degrade the details, the sharpness of the date, rim distinctiveness, star rims, etc., obscuring the key markers collectors use to identify variety. In very dirty condition, heavy circulation, wear, grime, possibly surface damage, these markers may be only faintly visible, which means many dirty coins go undervalued or misattributed. Still, even with poor preservation, if the coin unmistakably shows the wide rim features, collectors will pay a premium over the common narrow rim in similar condition. The value for a 1979p Susan B. Anthony wide rim slash near date in excellent uncirculated condition can range from several $100s into the low thousands, depending on grade and market demand. For example, an MS64 PCGS graded wide rim near date might fetch somewhere over $300 $1,000. At MS65 or higher, those values escalate, perhaps $1,500 $4,000 in strong demand. The very top, rare specimens in MS66, MS67, with certified population extremely low, could reach around $5,000 $8,000 plus, depending on eye appeal, strike, and whether there are additional desirable attributes, sharp rims, full luster. In contrast, for a very dirty, wide rim slash near date 1979p coin, heavy wear, corrosion, possibly damage, the value drops substantially. Such a coin might be worth $5 to $20 above face value if the wide rim variety is clearly identifiable. If the filthy state so degrades key identification, e.g., date or rim barely visible, it may be no more than face value or only a few dollars above. Rarely a dirty specimen that still shows the variety and has some originality of metal and strike might attract bids higher $30.50 among niche collectors. The historical and rarity premium helps, but condition limits value heavily. The 1979p Susan B. Anthony dollar with the wide rim, near date, variety is a prized treasure in the SBA series. Blending history, first small dollar design, first woman on U.S. circulating coin, artistry, Gasparo's portrait, Apollo 11 reverse, rarity, wide rim being comparatively scarce, and collector appeal. Even in very dirty or worn condition, if one can positively identify the wide rim variety, the coin offers far more than face value, a story, a connection to a formative period in U.S. coinage history, and a light-touch investment, given how condition, rarity, and variety interplay. For serious numismatists, the quest for one of the better specimens is both satisfying and absorbing. If you find such a coin, dirty though it may be, it is well worth having in a collection, both for its uniqueness and its potential to appreciate as condition improves or a cleaner specimen can be found. Next up in the 1980p Susan B. Anthony dollar remains a fascinating and highly sought-after piece in the world of U.S. modern coin collecting. To the collector who delights in rescue coins or the story behind every scratch, a dirty, circulated specimen is a tangible connection to past pocket use, vending machines, and everyday commerce. While it rarely commands stratospheric prices, it holds a magnetic appeal. Here is a coin that circulated, or at least survived, through decades, showing the real wear of hands, and yet still bears the symbols and history of the Anthony dollar series. Among coins of the SBA, Susan B. Anthony series, even a well-worn 1980p is a prized treasure for thematic sets or registry collections, especially when one considers the rarity of high grades and the stories even low grades can. The Susan B. Anthony dollar was minted in a tight historical window from 1979 through 1981 and revived briefly in 1999. The 1980p issue bears the P mint mark of Philadelphia, part of the regular business strikes. By 1980, the U.S. Mint had begun applying the P mint mark to Philadelphia output, including the Susan B. Anthony coins, to standardize marking practices. The series itself was an ambitious experiment to replace or supplement the paper dollar with a durable coin-based alternative, though public reception was underwhelming because people often confused it with a quarter due to size and color. The coin still functioned as part of everyday currency, in theory, and many were released into circulation. The 1980 coin thus stands as part of that experiment, a vestige of a bold numismatic policy and public experiment in coinage. For collectors, each surviving specimen, even rough ones, carries echoes of that attempt to shift public currency habits. Though a dirty coin does not let its finer details shine, the 1980p Susan B. Anthony dollar possesses design features that make it instantly recognizable. On the obverse, the right-facing bust of reformer Susan B. Anthony dominates, with the inscriptions Liberty above, "In God We Trust" to her side, and the date 1980 beneath, with the subtle FG initials of designer Frank Gasparo near her shoulder. On the reverse, the motif, adapted from the earlier Eisenhower dollar, shows an eagle landing on the moon, clutching an olive branch, with the Earth rising in the background, a tribute to the Apollo 11 mission. Surrounding inscriptions include United States of America, EPLUBUSUNUM, and denomination $1. The coin is clad in 75% copper, 25% nickel on the outer layers with a pure copper core, with a diameter of 26.5 and weighing 8.1 g. The edge is reeded. In specimens, the fine details of Antony's hair, the feathers of the eagle, and crisp lettering can dazzle. In a dirty example, those features are obscured, but the overall form and mint mark, P, remain legible and carry weight for identification. Any subtle die varieties or minting anomalies, like slight doubling or strike weakness, may survive in partial form even in worn examples. Among Susan B. Anthony dollars, the 1980p is not one of the key dates. In fact, it is relatively common in circulated grades. However, what is rare are the very high uncirculated examples. For example, PCGS notes that specimens graded MS67 and MS68 are scarce, with perhaps fewer than 500 known at MS67 and only a handful at MS68 or better. In contrast, the vast majority of 1980p coins that survived are in circulated or lower uncirculated grade, making perfectly preserved specimens precious. In the case of a very dirty, heavily circulated example, its condition severely limits its value relative to pristine coins. Surface corrosion, deep gouging, smoothing of rims, loss of luster, and general grime obscure detail and reduce collector appeal to all but the most thematic or budget-oriented collections. But such a coin still holds value, not as a premium trophy, but as a candidate for starter collections, thematic type sets, for example, a set of SBA dollars in every grade, or as a fill coin where condition is secondary to completeness. Its rarity lies not in its issue, but in its survival with enough readability to confirm date, mint mark, and basic design amid heavy wear. In the current marketplace, a circulated 1980p Susan B. Anthony in average condition typically trades just above face value, often in the $1.05 to $1.35 range per NGC's coin guide for circulated examples. Indeed, most such coins today are valued close to their numismatic base rather than commanding large premiums. However, in excellent uncirculated condition or with rare varieties, prices climb substantially. For instance, top MS66 or MS67 specimens can command several $100s. Rare MS67 or MS68 coins, especially with pristine surfaces and strong eye appeal, may push toward $1,000 or more, with some remarkably graded examples even approaching $2,000 to $5,000 in private sales or auctions, depending on demand and competition. Some extreme valuations suggest that exceptionally rare or variety coins in top grade might even be speculated to approach $8,000 in ideal conditions, though such levels are seldom realized for 1980p issues. These high values are driven by scarcity of top grades, desirability of clean surfaces, premium buyers seeking registry or investment pieces, and the incremental prestige of owning one of the very finest. By contrast, that battered, dirty 1980p might be worth only a few dollars over face to an average buyer, or perhaps $5 to $20 to a collector in a pinch, unless it hides a rare die variety, for example, an error or doubling that can raise its worth dramatically even from poor condition. Having the coin graded and encapsulated by trusted services, e.g., PCGS, NGC, ensures authenticity and protects it. Even in circulated coins, keep an eye out for weak strike anomalies, doubled dies, or unusual planchet issues. The presence of a rare error can elevate a piece's value despite wear. This reduces risk of counterfeits or overpaying. Auction results also serve as benchmarks. For dirty coins, only use safe, minimal cleaning if necessary to read the mint mark or design. Avoid anything that alters the surfaces. Use inert coin holders or capsules. Avoid contact with acidic materials or extreme humidity. Join SBA or modern coin collector forums, registry sets, and auction mailing lists. Many hidden gem finds emerge from community knowledge. Set a clear budget and goal. Decide whether you want a high-grade showpiece, a representative type coin, or a well-worn relic with story value. Each approach has different risk-reward. Even a lowly circulated 1980p, when properly preserved, can serve as a stepping stone in a broader SBA or modern US coin collection. The most expensive, very dirty, 1980p Susan B. Anthony dollar would be one in which, despite heavy wear and grime, the coin still exhibits a rare striking variety or error, which elevates it beyond its degraded state. For instance, imagine a heavily worn 1980p with a subtle die doubling on the reverse lunar surface or an off-center strike that was historically documented, but whose rarity surpasses its appearance. In such a case, a competitive specialist buyer might pay a premium over typical worn examples, say in the range of $100 to $500 or more, depending on how extreme the variety is and how well the mint mark and doubling remain readable. It's unlikely that such a dirty coin would approach the prices of top uncirculated specimens, but in niche circles, those rescue coins with premiums sometimes trade well above expectation. The key is that the error or variety must outweigh the condition depreciation in the eyes of a buyer who values uniqueness more than surface perfection. The 1980p Susan B. Anthony dollar, even in a very dirty, heavily circulated state, embodies a powerful blend of history, artistry, and challenge that appeals to the passionate numismatist. Though its monetary value in poor condition is modest, its allure lies in its survivorship and connection to the ill-fated yet ambitious SBA series. When rescued from obscurity, it becomes a tangible link to everyday commerce and a reminder of the risks and rewards of coin collecting. While specimens command most of the headlines and auction records, even battered examples have a place in collector hearts, as type coins, set fillers, or speculative projects for finding hidden anomalies. For those willing to explore the dusty corners of coin lots, the 1980p in rough shape can still be a prized treasure, providing an accessible entry point and the possibility that, hidden among its grime, lies something special. For dedicated enthusiasts worldwide, pursuing such a coin offers both historical joy and the thrilling hope of turning a modest find into a collector's gem. Next up in the 1979 Susan B. Anthony dollar, many numismatists imagine bright, lustrous coins, but there's also a special sort of appeal in a battered, grimy specimen. That very contrast of historical prestige and physical wearing can make a dirty example a kind of intriguing relic. To the passionate collector, it becomes not just a coin, but a time-worn artifact, a physical vessel of decades of circulation, handling, and environmental exposure. Even in poor shape, a 1979D with full provenance and some trace detail can be something of a prized treasure for those who love to chase stories and rare survivorship. Its mint mark, D. Denver, adds a specific identity, and its place in the early Susan B. Anthony series gives it a firm footing in numismatic lore. In today's collector market, demand remains steady for condition-sensitive survivors, and rare high-grade examples still command strong prices, though dirty pieces usually trade closer to modest values, except under special conditions. The Susan B. Anthony dollar was introduced in 1979, aiming to replace the bulky Eisenhower dollar and to modernize the dollar coin concept. The Denver Mint, hence the D Mint mark, was one of the 3 mints selected for striking the initial run. The coin's issuance came at a time of experimentation. Congress and the U.S. Mint were trying to produce a smaller, more practical dollar coin in the face of rising costs of paper dollars and a desire to reduce note circulation. The coin also reflects a cultural shift. For the first time, a circulating U.S. coin bore the portrait of a real woman, Susan B. Anthony, honoring her leadership in the women's suffrage movement. Though sales and circulation acceptance were disappointing, many people confused it with the quarter. The series stood as a tangible connection to both monetary reform ambitions and social history. Over time, as many coins were stored, melted, or lost, surviving pieces, especially those in better condition, gained a foothold among collectors. The 1979 D. Susan B. Anthony dollar follows the standard specifications for the series: a diameter of 26.5 mm, a weight of 8.1 grams, and a clad composition of 75% copper outer layers over pure copper core, copper nickel on the outside. Its edge is reeded. On the obverse sits the right-facing bust of Susan B. Anthony, surrounded by the word Liberty, stars, and the date. The reverse design is borrowed from the Apollo 11 mission insignia, an eagle landing on the moon, clutching an olive branch over a lunar surface. In clean, high-grade pieces, the crisp contrast between the devices and fields, the sharpness of the lettering, and the cameo or semi-cameo surfaces in proofs can be very striking. For the Denver D. Mint examples, the Mint Mark D is placed just to the left of the base of the bust, on the ribbon or near the shoulder. Some die varieties exist, e.g., first day of issue designations, which can add desirability to specific 1979 D examples. What sets a particularly special coin apart is crispness, minimal contact marks, especially in the high points of the devices, hair, cheek, eagle wings, lunar detail, and strong eye appeal. When dealing with a very dirty, heavily circulated 1979 D, rarity is less about the date or mint itself, because many thousands were struck, and more about how many have survived with any trace of diagnostic detail. The 1979 D had a high mintage, approximately 288,015,744 pieces struck. Thus the coin isn't inherently rare. What is rare is an example that still shows clear design detail, sharp rim, legible date, and minimal corrosion or loss. Many coins have been worn smooth, nicked, or marred by environmental exposure, pitting, tarnish, scratches. Because collector demand typically chases high-grade and well-preserved specimens, few people pay much attention to the worn or dirty survivors, so those linger at or near base values. But for a specialist who desires every known example, even a coarse, unattractive 1979 D with trace originality can find a niche appreciative owner. The challenge lies in finding a dirty example that still allows you to confirm it is indeed a 1979 D, mint mark legible, date visible, without being completely obliterated. In excellent uncirculated grades, MS65 and above, 1979 D Susan B. Anthony dollars can command premium prices. According to PCGS, the auction record for a 1979 D was $1,528 for an MS68 specimen, Heritage, January 2017. In price guides, 1979 D SBA dollars in mint condition span from modest to more ambitious ranges. Graysheet lists up to about $1,550 for prime specimens. In contrast, a very dirty, heavily worn 1979 D, in which fine detail is mostly lost, generally trades close to a few dollars above face, or even near face value, if simply as a circulated common. Typical circulated 1979 D coins are often priced roughly $1 to $2 in standard markets, but there are occasional outlier listings. For example, some eBay listings of 1979 D Rare FG, fairly good detail despite, where coins appear priced at $2,000, though their actual realization may be lower. Another listing shows a Rare D Mint Mark 1979 Denver example at $1,499, uncertified, condition unspecified. However, such prices often reflect rarity hopes more than market certainty. So for a truly dirty specimen, expectations should stay modest, unless it has some verifiable feature, scarce die variety, first day of issue, or provenance that might attract a buyer seeking a collection fill. The upside is limited in those cases, but the historical context and mint identity still give it appeal beyond its scrap or bullion equivalent, though these coins have no precious metal content beyond face value. The 1979 D Susan B. Anthony dollar, in very dirty condition, typically sits at the lower end of the market spectrum. It still embodies a fascinating potential for future appreciation under the right circumstances. As the supply of original Anthony dollars in circulation continues to shrink, either from attrition, hoarding, or mishandling, the surviving examples, even in low grade, become historical placeholders for a key period of U.S. coinage. Collectors who purchase these coins today at minimal premiums may be positioning themselves to tell a fuller story later, when high-grade specimens become prohibitively expensive. Even now, niche groups of numismatists and educators use well-worn, low-grade Antony dollars to illustrate lessons in monetary reform, coin handling, and design evolution, lending the coins an unexpected educational and museum display value. This blend of accessible pricing and enduring historical interest creates an undercurrent of long-term demand that may subtly lift even the humblest examples as time passes. The 1979 D. Susan B. Anthony dollar transcends mere numismatics because it encapsulates a pivotal cultural moment in U.S. history. Regardless of condition, every one of these coins bears the portrait of a pioneering woman's rights advocate, making it a tangible piece of social progress and public recognition. In that sense, even a grimy, tarnished Antony dollar becomes a tiny metal document of the country's journey toward greater inclusivity on its circulating coinage. This cultural symbolism often sparks interest from collectors outside traditional coin hobby circles, including historians, gender studies scholars, and educators seeking to illustrate how values shift through everyday objects. Thus, while its market value may be modest in dirty condition, its narrative power, linking monetary innovation, social reform, and the Denver Mint's craftsmanship, remains unbroken. Owning one of these pieces, no matter how worn, allows a collector to hold a small but meaningful artifact of a transformative era in American coinage. The 1979 D. Susan B. Anthony dollar in very dirty condition may not sparkle like a pristine specimen, but it still carries the power of history, design, and identity. It stands as a faded but authentic witness to the ambitious early days of the Antony series, the Denver Mint's contribution to the project, and the enduring fascination collectors have with every surviving example. While most dirty coins hover around minimal premiums above face value, the rarity lies in those that preserve enough trace artistry and legibility to confirm their identity and possible variety. For a collector willing to embrace imperfection, such a piece can still be a prized treasure, a gritty, honest companion to the gleaming milestones in one's cabinet. If discovered and preserved carefully, even a humble 1979 D in poor condition can enrich a collection, serving as a reminder that the soul of numismatics is not always in the flawless, but also in the persistent survivors. Next up in the 1979 P. Susan B. Anthony dollar. Even in a very dirty or worn state, a Philadelphia minted 1979 dollar can remain an object of fascination and speculation in numismatic circles. For collectors, it is not merely a circulated relic, but a bridge to an era of change, a tangible echo of social progress and monetary experiment. While many of these coins languish in pocket change or dusty coin rolls, the idea that among them might lie a hidden gem, even one whose surfaces are obscured by grime or wear, fires the imagination. Its name alone evokes a sense of preciousness, a prized treasure waiting to be rescued, whose value can sometimes transcend mere face worth, thanks to its history, variety, and the enthusiastic demand of serious collectors. The Susan B. Anthony dollar was introduced in 1979 as a bold shift, the first small-size US dollar coin and the first US circulating coin to portray a real woman. Its release came amid mounting pressure to modernize coinage and reduce production costs, replacing the bulky Eisenhower dollar with a lighter, more convenient piece. The Philadelphia Mint struck the 1979 P coins as the first in the series. Though not a bicentennial issue, that label more naturally applies to 1976 commemoratives, the 1979 coin was part of the larger modern era of U.S. coinage change and was issued during a time when America was reflecting on its past century and more. The minting of the 1979 coin coincided with social change, including increased recognition of women's rights, so the choice of Susan B. Anthony as its face offered a symbolic tie to progress. The Philadelphia Mint's P mark made a return to prominence, marking the first time in decades that circulating coins bore a P mint mark from Philadelphia, re-establishing a link with tradition even as the design looked forward. The 1979 P. Susan B. Anthony dollar boasts refined and meaningful design elements. On the obverse, one sees a right-facing bust of Susan B. Anthony, her name and the word liberty inscribed, and the motto "In God We Trust" flowing along the rim. On the reverse, Frank Gasparro adapted the Apollo 11 mission insignia, an eagle landing on the moon, clutching an olive branch, framed by United States of America, EPLUBUSUNUM, and $1. The coin's physical specifications are modest but deliberate, about 26.5 min diameter, roughly 8.1 grams in weight, and a composition of copper-nickel clad, outer layers 75% copper/25% nickel over a pure copper core. The edge is reeded, and the P mint mark is positioned near the shoulder of Anthony, just above the date. While in pristine specimens, the luster and strike finesse attract attention, in a very dirty or heavily circulated example, many details may be dulled, scratched, or obscured, yet the core motifs remain recognizable, reminding us of the design's enduring strength. Collectors often prize subtle varieties, notably the wide rim/near date versus narrow rim/far date variants, mint errors, or die anomalies. Even a battered 1979 P, if it harbors one of these rarities, can spark great interest. The 1979 P. Susan B. Anthony is not exceedingly rare. The Philadelphia Mint struck over 360,222,000 units of the 1979 P coin for circulation. Yet within that large number, the survival of exceptional or distinctive examples is scarce, especially when one demands clean surfaces, sharp detail, or a rare die variety. Most coins circulated heavily, scratches, dirt, rim nicks, and wear are common. Finding a coin in truly high-grade, MS65 and above, is a formidable challenge. In a very dirty condition, meaning heavy wear, corrosion, abrasions, grime, and surface damage, the coin loses much of its visual appeal, and many collectors will offer only its intrinsic or cleaned/raw value. The contrast between what it could be a gem and what it is, heavily worn, accentuates the rarity of pristine survivors. That said, even in poor condition, a coin that still displays key identifying hallmarks, clear date, readable mint mark, discernible motif, may be of interest, particularly if it hides a rare variety or error that can be authenticated by a third-party grading service. Because most coins in such condition are common examples, their collector value is usually modest. Yet the mere possibility that one of them is misidentified or undervalued fuels collector persistence. The challenge of uncovering a sleeper among dirty coins adds a layer of drama. You might find a gem under grime. The realistic market worth of a 1979 P. Susan B. Anthony dollar in very dirty/heavily circulated condition. For typical common variety examples, the market tends to treat them as nearly face value, perhaps $1 to $3, or somewhere in that rough range, depending on how legible the date and features remain. But if the same dirty coin turns out to be a wide rim/near date variant, or contains a notable die error, off-center strike, double die, broad strike, rim crack, etc., then the value can jump substantially, even if it remains dirty. Market guides and auction results suggest that well-preserved wide rim examples can command hundreds to low thousands of dollars in high grade, though the premiums soften sharply as condition deteriorates. For example, Graysheet and PCGS pricing tables show that a well-graded 1979 P rare/wide rim specimen in mint state can fetch significant premiums over the regular strike. In contrast, in very poor condition, the coin's value will generally revert to a modest multiple of face, and the burden is on the collector or buyer to detect whether the coin contains hidden value beyond its worn surfaces. Thus, for a 1979 P in very dirty condition, unless it is a verified rare variety or error, its market value is likely modest, $1.10 or so. But if properly authenticated as a scarce variant, even a dirty specimen could attract careful bidders willing to invest in restoration, grading, or further inspection. For collectors hunting particularly for a 1979 P coin, even in dirty state, the first priority is authentication and variety identification. Always begin by examining the rim spacing near the date. The wide rim/near-date variety has the date positioned closer to the rim than on the common narrow rim/far date. Even a soiled coin can reveal this spacing clue under loupe or magnification. If you believe a coin might be of the rarer variety or bear a mint error, submit it to a trusted third-party grading or authentication service, e.g. PCGS, NGC. Their certification can transform what looks like a dirty slug into a collectible of serious interest. Avoid guessing on value before authentication. Buy only from reputable dealers or auctions that offer clear imaging, return policies, and provenance. Demand strong detail shots, especially of the rim, date, and mint mark before purchase. Once acquired, do not attempt aggressive cleaning. Abrasive or improper cleaning can destroy detail and drastically reduce value. Instead, store in inert, protective holders, airtight flips, coin capsules, archival quality materials. Engage with collector forums, numismatic clubs, and online communities focused on Susan B. Anthony dollars or U.S. modern coins. These networks often uncover misattributed variants, guide value shifts, and share leads on hidden gems. Over time, you will become more attuned to spotting a potentially valuable specimen lurking beneath grime. The 1979 P. Susan B. Anthony dollar, even when found in very dirty and worn condition, carries with it a storied heritage, elegant design, and the possibility, though remote, of concealed value. It represents a bridge between eras, a coin that marked America's step toward modernization, social recognition, and monetary innovation. While most examples in poor condition will yield only modest value, the rare possibility of a hidden wide rim variety or mint error still makes each coin in circulation or change a potential treasure. For dedicated numismatists, acquiring one, even in imperfect form, can be part of a thrilling journey, restoring brightness to forgotten metal, proving authenticity, and perhaps owning a piece of U.S. history that resonates long beyond its face value. I encourage any serious collector to include the 1979 P. Susan B. Anthony dollar in their search. It is one of those coins whose blend of history, artistry, and rarity rewards patience, insight, and perseverance.